What up? This is Blade Daily. Nobody's here yet, so I'm just going to kind of bullshit with myself for a few minutes and see if anybody shows up before I get started, because I got a lot to say. Got a lot to say, friendos. Lots and lots to say. Looks like somebody's here. Clear Line 7. Live captions have been disabled for this event. What the fuck? I am not aware of how to enable or disable those things. Live captions, as in like comments? Blurry line? You tell me. Because I can go in the back end and see if I can fix it before we get started. How we doing today, folks? How we doing? How we feeling? How we living? How we living? Crazy time to be an American, I'll tell you that. Crazy fucked up time to be an American. Not good. Not good. I'm real quickly going back here in the back end, see if I can enable the live captions. So bear with me just a moment, friends. Gather round. Your old Uncle Blade is here to probably be kind of annoying, but it's my superpower, you know? Like we all have gifts, and mine is to be loud and annoying and oftentimes wrong. So we'll see how much of those I can hit on in one session. Got it. Okay, blurry line. I did not get the joke. I apologize. What up, everybody? This is Blade Daily. I'm going at the solo today. So here's the deal. We kind of tape this for the podcast, the audio version that's going to come out tomorrow. So you're almost like my live studio audience for these things. So feel free to chat as you go along, and I will put your stuff up on the screen. I'll read it out loud. We'll have a little repartee back and forth, and there will be a few times where I do the show intro or throw to music that you can't hear because I don't have it live, because that's all going to be done in post. But really appreciate y'all joining me tonight, today, whatever time it is for you, because I've been off for a couple weeks. I got a lot to say. There's a lot going on in pro wrestling, the world of pro wrestling, and the actual just the world, because, yeah. So I'm going to do the intro to the show. We're going to jump on in and get started, and then just throw your comments in. I'll see them over here. I'll put them up on the screen, and we'll have a good old time. But really, guys, I just want to hang today. Let's have a good time. Let's prioritize hangs and just like surviving and having fun together today. I think that's the most important thing for all of us. So with all of that said, hello, everybody. We're back after 2 weeks for another edition of Sit Down, Shut Up, and Mark Out, a pro wrestling podcast about pro wrestling. And what a respite it was. What a respite. What a respite it was. It was really, well, okay. Like I didn't do shit at all. I had all these plans and didn't do anything. But that was kind of the point. You got to let your brain rest every now and then. And you all know I don't got a lot to work with as it is. So I need extra rest. And anyway, it's just me today. No guest host. And that is for a very particular reason. This is a pro wrestling podcast, but it's also made by human beings until I can replace myself with AI. But it's made for human beings. And it's been real goddamn hard to be a human being the last few weeks. Watching the atrocities being committed in Minneapolis with our fellow citizens murdered in the streets has rocked me hard. I don't need to tell you that this is not what America is supposed to be, right? Like, we all know that. We've mocked the word freedom because it's probably like the most popular word in American vernacular as long as I've been alive, and gets thrown around so casually. We mock it because people say it all the time. We're free, blah, 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 blah. But the truth is, when you have to worry about being executed in the streets for helping your fellow citizens take cover from a masked mob, you're not free. when you have to worry about being arrested for reporting on a church protest, which happened today as I tape this, you're not free. When the Department of Defense, the FBI, and Department of Homeland Security come out to call the victims of these extrajudicial killings domestic terrorists within moments of the news being reported before they've learned anything, we are not free. America is badly, badly damaged. And even if all of this ended today, it would take a very long time to put it back together again. Somehow, we've become so dehumanized to each other that a majority of voters actually thought it best to elect a man who did everything in his power to delegitimize a presidential election and incited an insurrection. He faced 0 criminal consequences for it and was allowed to run for president again, and he won. And he has surrounded himself with a crew of incompetent, arrogant sociopaths who care just as little as he does about the collective good. They care about power and only their attainment of more power. Now, I know you don't listen to this podcast to talk politics, but this isn't about politics. This is about us. This is about human beings in desperate need of each other. These weak people currently running things are so desperate for us to believe that they have the power to end us at any moment. They want us alone. They want us too scared to speak. They want us too afraid to use our rights. And we just cannot let that happen. Humanity is worth fighting for. And whether I agree with your politics or your spiritual beliefs or not, I agree your life is worth living till its natural end. I agree you deserve the opportunity to think and feel exactly as you choose. And I believe I need you, whether we're on the same side of issues or not. Too many of us have been fooled into believing we only need others if they're on our side. Humanity has no sides. Humanity isn't a Democrat or a Republican or even an American. We all have blood running through us, okay? We all have hearts beating in our chest. And we cannot close our hearts off to each other. Too many of us already have. Look at the damage it's already caused. When we fail to recognize our mutual need of each other, when we dehumanize each other, when we surrender our search for joy to the dopamine rush of outrage and hatred, this is what we create. Fuck fascism, fuck algorithms, fuck tech billionaires and their agendas, fuck guys, fuck political parties and their constant need for money, fuck having to pay for democracy we can afford every 2 years, fuck comparison and resentment and bitterness. We have to keep caring. We have to recognize that objective truth is our only way out of this. Not everything is a matter of goddamn opinion. It is wrong to murder people for protesting and exercising their rights. Period. No matter what you think, no matter what it is you're saying, it's absolutely and completely fundamentally wrong. And our only way out of this is with each other. The only way we rebuild ourselves is together. That's what I got. I'm going to hit the music. And when we come back, we're diving in tits first to pro wrestling. Thank you for hearing me out, gang. All right, we'll have a little music play there. And let's all chat a little bit. All right. The amazing Blade from Bladeville. Well, thank you, Bax. Thank you. Thank you for dropping in for a minute. I really appreciate it. Blurry Line with a really good one. I have a solid theory that the worse the world gets, the better AEW gets. Their first golden era coincided with COVID, and the last 2 Dynamites have coincided with all of that. Yes, I agree. I agree. When Tony Khan feels like we need something, he really steps it up. Fuck yo mama 2 times in the chat. What's up, Blade? What's up, Bex? Great episode of Dynamite. I'm super excited about Ciampa and fuck Donald Trump. Absolutely agree, friends. Skewered Universe podcast. These past few weeks have shown how little freedom we actually have. It sure feels that way right now, don't it? Tino in the chat. Oh, I was going to say something disparaging about Blade, but he's being serious, so I won't. Well, don't worry. It's all over now, Tino. You can say whatever you want. Get back to abusing your good old friend Blade, just like you've come to expect and come to need. I think I fulfill a need by letting you guys disparage me the way I do, because I think all of this shit builds up inside of us, and we need to let it out somehow. And you being able to just say whatever shitty thing you want to say to me, I think it really helps you guys. So you're welcome. You're welcome. All right, we're back. We're back. So one thing that happened since the last time I was doing a podcast, since Sit Down, Shut Up, Mark Out was on, there has been a lot of movement in pro wrestling, like an unusual amount of movement. It makes sense because it was the beginning of the year, contracts expire, yada, yada. I think a lot of people expected to see Chris Jericho show up in the northern place. He has not yet. I still expect that he will, but there has been a lot of moving around. Andrade is back in AEW. I'm going to call this his third time in AEW because there was the one night he was there. That was an entire run, if you ask me. But I got to say, Andrade is exactly where this guy belongs. Okay. And his match this week against Swerve, a match that he actually won, he beat fucking Swerve, was proof. I've always been a big fan of this guy. All right. Like, I first saw him when he was in NXT. I remember when he came out with the hat and the suspenders, and I was like, what the fuck is this guy doing? I knew his background, I knew his story, but I really hadn't seen much of him. And yeah, it took a little while to get his act together with Selena Vega, but once they did, he was a fantastic NXT champion. That match with Gargano in Philadelphia years and years ago, I still remember very fondly. Haven't seen it in a long time, but I'm pretty sure I would. Yeah. If you support fascism, this is not the pod for you. Fuck yo mama 2 times. That is correct. My little pocket buddy Blade. Is this Brett? Oh, wow. Thank you also to my imp simp, Skewer Universe, for having my back in the chat. As always, thank you, friend. Thank you, imp simp. Really do appreciate it. But yes, Andrade being back is really cool. I was so excited when he showed up in AEW the first time. And then I was pretty much continually disappointed with how he was or wasn't used. When he left, I was kind of numb about the whole thing. I was just like, whatever. But, I saw people going like, fuck him. We got Roosh. Who cares? And I was like, I don't know that I can go quite there. I was disappointed with the run. But I don't think that was entirely up to him. The guy leaves. He goes to WWE for a little while. Immediately means nothing there. And so he just stops showing up for work, gets fired, has to work his way out of some legal entanglements, but he's here now. And this guy looks like a new main eventer to me with the wind at his back. Let this guy roll. We get Andrade versus Kenny Omega next week on Dynamite. Holy shit. That is some real shit. Oh, Kaylee Metz 4363 says Blade is the worst and the best all at once. One of those things is definitely true. Thank you, Kaylee Metz. Bleary Line 7 says we can't forget what he did. Keep trying to buy Darby from Sting and was convinced Darby was Sting's son. Are we talking about me still? Tino says they're just joking. That it's all love. Sure it is, Tina. Sure it is. Tell it to a judge, friend. Tell it to a judge. Not that it would matter in the current climate. But so we got Andrade in AEW. Then we got Jake fucking Doyle in AEW, the former Jake something in AEW. Huge pickup. Okay. And in the few times I've been able to see him in the ring, I've always been super impressed by him. I've never understood why he doesn't have more, why he wasn't signed already. I just seemed like a slam dunk that he would be. He shows up. They immediately pair him with Mark Davis, the Dunkzilla, the man with an ass so big he actually has to use a ramp to get inside buildings. And And this week they were in a tag match and they were kicking FTR's fucking ass. And apparently Jake might have torn his bicep already, which is like at least a 6-month rehab on that. Why does this always happen to people in the Don Callis family? The DCF is a bit cursed, I will say. You know, Andrade shows up one night, he's in the DCF, and then all of a sudden he can't wrestle in AEW. And now we have Jake something showing up, getting injured immediately. Fucking sucks. Davis and Doyle are a lot of fun. I hope we find out more about what's going on with him soon. And then I got to say, I was pretty sad when I saw that the powerhouse Will Hobbs is departed AEW. I'm a big fan of Hobbs, period. It doesn't sound like he was hard to deal with. It sounds like everybody liked him and that he was never anything less than professional. It sounds like he got a big offer from Tony Khan. You know, they said his reasons for leaving were for his family. I'm not sure what that means. So I assume he's going to be making big money and they probably have something big in store for him. He is going to WWE. I'm not going to see him there, but I really do wish him the best. He was a blast to watch the last several years. That said, I really don't think he was underused or set up for failure in AEW. I think he went as far as he could have or should have. And I don't blame him for trying to go farther. If he's got something that can take him farther than where he's been, good for him. Good for him. You know, I just hope the best. Skewer Universe said, I just watched the episode where Andrade came back, and I'm so happy he's back. Uncle Don hasn't paid off the right people to keep the family safe. Totally agree. Fuck Yo Mama 2 times very accurately points out that Don Callis tag teams are cursed, murder monsters, and Davis and Doyle. It's so true. Where the fuck is Brian Cage? Has anybody heard anything about my boy Brian Cage? Please rescue Brian Cage. Bleary Line 7 and Kayfabe DCF members getting injured and Don absolutely never acknowledging or caring about them is peak Don Callis. That's true. He does just bring in replacements. Like, that is absolutely true. And it is pretty funny. It is pretty funny. So real talk. I've barely ever seen the Rascalz. Okay. Like, I have seen them a few times. I've enjoyed them. Okay. But I know people who love them and were telling me they were the future some years back. I actually got to see Desmond Xavier at a Defy show. He wrestled Scorpio Sky and beat him. Now it's like almost 10 years ago. That's fucking insane. So it was cool that they finally got picked up by a major. You know, I know they had been in WWE. I know, Zach Wentz got released some time ago for some controversial stuff. And then the rest of them all kind of got released. They were back in TNA, and Tony Khan says, oh yeah, you want to have this conversation about who the biggest wrestling company is? The second biggest? Is it TNA or AEW? He goes and signs the Rascalz right before the TNA premieres on AMC. Kind of a petty move, but also kind of badass at the same time. I mean, come on. So it was cool to see that all of them got a deal in a major promotion again, until Trey MIguel got released before even making one appearance. Can we all just agree that being homophobic online is stupid as fuck, but actually just being homophobic at all is stupid as fuck? Okay? WBD said Trey had to go, and so he gets released before he's ever on television. Like, insane. He says he's apologized, and I hope he's changed. He said he was taking a break from wrestling. He encouraged everyone to support the Rascalz until... Look, he never said it would be a long break, okay? He showed back up in TNA immediately after his release. He won that Feast and or Fired thing. I don't even know what that is, honestly. Hopefully he can put it together in TNA, okay? Demonstrate some genuine contrition, grow the fuck up a little bit, and rejoin the other guys back in AEW. I mean, I think that's the best result outcome. Skewer Universe, thank you. See, this is what a genuine imp simp really does, is go do some research for me while I'm ranting here. Skewer Universe, Brian Cage is posting pics of him and his muscles on Instagram, so I can see some things have never changed. That's good. Larry Line 7 says we ground up most of Brian Cage to make Jake Doyle. I could believe it. I could believe that. I could believe it. Brian Cage is born again Christian. He's been baptized. What? What? Fuck. That's according to Fuck You Mama 2 times. I don't know. The Lord was not with him when he whatever he did to his fucking leg. So let's hope the Cager comes back strong. Alec Price and Jordan Oliver have been signed to AEW, and this generated some headlines at the time, but I think this, of all of them, is the most underrated so far as signings have gone this last month. MJF wrestled Alec Price at an indie show and defended the AEW Men's World title against him, which was interesting, right? Like, people were like, why are you defending this on an indie show? And MJF said, I think he's ready. I think that, it was clear there was some kind of particular motive, okay? And then we saw what that motive was. After the match is over, MJF beats Alec Price. It was announced that Alec and his current teammate, now in AEW, and ex-Nick Wayne homie, Jordan Oliver, were both signed to AEW. Jordan Oliver had been in Ring of Honor several times. He'd been on a Dynamite once or twice. Very impressive guy. By all accounts I've ever heard about him on the indies, he's always a guy people are talking about. And this is cool because I feel like Tony Khan kind of runs his promotion almost like a sports team. He's always scouting, just like you do if you're in the NFL or if you're the GM for a baseball team or something. You're always scouting for new talent. He always has his ear to the ground about people developing. And the draw of AEW is the layered storytelling and the insane match quality. So these are both guys who can make a big difference and shore up the future of AEW for 2 decades if they do it right. And really, when you think about it, like, they can shore up the future, sure. But like, Tony is finding these people that aren't getting ranted and raved about constantly. It's not like these NIL or what is that, NILL, whatever these signings are for that New York brings in, and then they last for like a year and then you never hear about him again. I mean, they brought in, the NCAA champion, and he didn't make it. He got released. He disappeared. So Tony's got a really, really good track record about developing talent. And so I think that's really exciting. And I'm very excited to see where it goes from here. So that's Alec Price and Jordan Oliver, Tony backloading the youth. And then this week, holy shit, what a debut. This felt like, to me, recency bias, sure, maybe. This felt like an all-time iconic reveal. Mark Briscoe gets on the mic after he defeats a member of the Don Callis family. I can't even remember who it was at the moment. He defends the TNT title, and he's like, I will defend this title against anybody who's not in the Don Callis family. The lights go down. This is how good this shit is. We know this person is a free agent. We know this person is leaving where they currently are, and I still didn't put it together. Okay? The lights go down. They let him stay down for a long time. And then it says Psycho Killer on the side screens. And I'm like, wait a minute. And I'm trying to remember who Psycho Killer is. And then the song is badass, by the way. That's a Mikey Ruckus original. And then it's Tommaso fucking Ciampa. And Tommaso Ciampa, who I will admit, when I heard he was a free agent, people are like, he should go to AEW. I didn't really care, to be honest with you. I hadn't seen Tommaso wrestle. This got me to care, and care with a quickness, okay? I'm fucking excited that Tommaso Ciampa is in AEW. He immediately comes face-to-face with Mark Briscoe. And I can't remember if it's going to be on Collision or Dynamite, but he's facing Mark Briscoe for the TNT title. I believe it's either this Saturday or it's next Wednesday. Will somebody in the chat please correct me one way or the other? And I'll just redo that take and sound like I knew it the whole time. Yes, thank you, Skewered Universe, for dropping by. I don't want to spoil everything for you, but yes, Tommaso Ciampa is there. Fuck Your Mama 2 times says Ciampa is a game changer. What an entrance. All this was done in 36 hours. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. So, yes, I just thought that was like an incredible moment where Ciampa comes out. The crowd goes absolutely ape shit. That was a special moment. It really felt unique and special. So awesome to see Tommaso Ciampa in AEW, you know, and I saw a quote from him today where he said, look, if I was wrestling in the 90s, I would have wanted to be in ECW. You know, in the early 2000s, late 90s, I would have wanted to be in WWE. If I was on the indies in the 2000s, I would have wanted to be in Ring of Honor, and I got to do a little bit of that. Now is the time of AEW, and I completely agree. They are the ones with the hot hand, regardless of who's got the most money or brings the most revenue in. Don't care. Okay. AEW is changing the wrestling culture in a huge way. I saw something today that said Will Hobbs got offered more money than anybody except Chris Jericho in the first year of AEW. Okay. So like, that's how much AEW is offering a guy at Hobbs' stature. That's how much the pay scale has changed. So keep that in mind, because when we come back, I want to talk about something I don't usually talk about. TNA. All right. Fuck Yo Mama 2 times says Okada's theme and Ciampa are my favorites. I like them both a lot. To be honest, that Okada theme took a while to grow on me, but it really did grow on me. I like it a lot. Also, if you're watching now live, or if you're watching after the fact, please do make sure that you subscribe to the channel. Make sure you like this video. Tell your friends. We are trying to get, raise our profile a little bit. We, really want to change the wrestling discourse away from just talking about fucking ratings and attendance and all this dumb bullshit that a lot of people don't actually care about, unless their side is winning in those categories. Then for some reason they seem to care a lot. But honestly, why would any of us give a shit? I'm going to illustrate that point as we go forward. Blurry line. Ooh, bit of a hot take here. Okada's new theme is better than his old one. Sorry, not sorry. You know what? I agree with you, because the Rainmaker theme, the original one, the first time I heard it, I was like, that's just generic butt rock. You know what I mean? And that's what it sounded like. And then you get so accustomed to Okada, you can't imagine him any other way, right? But as time has gone on with this new entrance, I'm like, this actually fits him in a way that I love. That Okada is like, I'm in AEW, so I'm going to dial in hard on crafting something new for myself instead of resting on his laurels at all. I'm super into that. Super into that. Okada is just fucking amazing. All right, we're back. And like I said, TNA. I don't usually talk about TNA because I don't watch TNA. But TNA, while I was out, debuted on AMC. Now, I don't follow weekly cable television ratings. I couldn't tell you what Dynamite did this week or what Collision did last week, and I don't give a shit. And I would highly encourage all of us to stop if you're into that kind of shit, because it's dead. Cable is dead as fucking dirt and only getting deader. So I have no idea what TNA is doing week to week ratings wise, and I don't give a shit. But it was impossible to miss the chatter about their debut episode on AMC. It sounds like it was positively horrific. Okay. And I saw a number of people who write about wrestling, who participate in the business, who were just ranting and raving, saying TNA shouldn't even exist, blah, 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 blah. Now, you don't have to like it. You don't have to, and you don't have to watch it, right? I don't, and I have zero interest in watching it, quite honestly. But the truth is, having more places for wrestlers to work is not only good, it's hugely important. I know a lot of people don't like TNA working so closely with the New York Maggot promotion, okay? I don't either. But it's a place for people to work. They can get their name out and hopefully move on to bigger and better things. There is literally no downside to that, okay? Just don't watch it if you don't like it. It's not like you're going to be bombarded with TNA diehards all the time and just be like, fuck, why do I always have to deal with this? You don't. I mean, you don't. I literally saw no one defend that first episode. And then the last couple that have aired since then, I've just heard nothing about them. Zero. Nothing. So, I don't like that they're so in bed with WWE, but they are. And that's the course they've charted. I don't care about them or the promotion all that much. What I care about is that wrestlers have a chance to elevate themselves and get better opportunities. And I think if you're a wrestling fan, we should all want that. I don't want anybody really going out of business. I don't think that's a good idea. And if I was ever going to say that about anybody, it would be the biggest one. And that would still be cataclysmically bad for the wrestling industry. I don't even want that. Okay. So if you're rooting for them to fail because some putz motherfuckers in wrestling who know better, okay, or on some kind of radio show that makes you feel like your head was busted open, if those putzes are making you root for TNA to fail, come on, we know better. There's no real debate about who the number 2 promotion is or any of that stuff. It's dead obvious. Those are disingenuous conversations. They're a total waste of time. It's just a dumb argument. You can just ignore it. With some huge indies, DPW, Prestige in Portland, and Deadlock Pro, both just went out of business. It's more important than ever that TNA is around, and that's just the simple truth. So it's good that there's wrestling on television. I hope they succeed in whatever success looks like for them. Yeah. So there's a lot to discuss about stuff that we actually do like. Last year, it felt like AEW was making a lot of people double champs, and that really hasn't changed. Okay. Like Bandito was the Ring of Honor world champion and the tag team champion. Now Willow is a tag team champion and just became the TBS champ at the end of 2025. And I was one of those people that's like, I don't like all these. Like, why are you wrestling for more belts when you've got a belt to defend, right? That was my point. But I got to say, I've been going back and watching old Jim Crockett stuff and old WCW stuff, old UWF stuff, old Mid-South Bill Watts shit. Japan, New Japan has done this a lot in the past. I realize it's actually very common for people to have multiple belts at once. It's not something that was done a ton in mainstream American wrestling the last 20 or 30 years. So maybe I just let that leave my mind. I don't know. But AEW is clearly making a creative choice. And I'm going to stop complaining about it. At this point, there's nothing more to say. I'd prefer it one way, but that's not what they're going to do. So, oh well, right? But with 5 men's singles titles currently, the World, Men's World, the International, the Continental, the National, and the TNT, I assume it's likely that they'll be giving more opportunities to people. Hopefully we won't see people holding like multiple singles titles at the same time, because that's just silly, unless they reunify anyway. It does seem, though, that AEW is determined to make the Continental title feel more relevant, which I think is good. Mox has had a number of eliminator matches the last few weeks. It feels like that belt will be defended more regularly. I like that they put a time limit on it, and I like that the tie goes to the challenger. So if you last 20 minutes with Moxley, he owes you a title shot, rather than if Moxley lasts, then it's like he won, which was like the old TV title rules back in the day in WCW. It feels like the belt will be defended more regularly, and even if the purpose of the title doesn't make sense to me, and it still really doesn't. I mean, if you have to run through that fucking tournament to win that title, why should somebody be able to take it from you in one match? God damn it. So it still doesn't really make a lot of sense, but I appreciate that it will be defended more, because it really was just like a decoration for Okada at the end of the day before. And now it looks like Konosuke Takeshita is the next challenger, which is leading me to the Don Callis family are some messy bitches. Can we just agree on that? The Don Callis family, they are messy bitches. Okay. It's crazy. Because like Bleary Line pointed out, when somebody goes on the injured reserve, Don Callis doesn't even acknowledge that they're gone. Okay. Don Callis doesn't even mention their name again until they come back. And then when they come back, half the time he's already replaced them and just attacks them or gets rid of them. But there's the big 3 in the Don Callis family. And we all know who it is. It's Takeshita, who was the first, Kyle Fletcher, and Kazuchika Okada. And in the fallout from World's End, it seemed pretty clear that Konosuke Takeshita and Kyle Fletcher would be pissed at Kazuchika Okada for screwing both of them in the C2, right? Like, he used a screwdriver on Takeshita to beat him, and then the screwdriver wasn't there when Fletcher needed it because Okada didn't bother to put it back. He just didn't care enough to. And then he lost in the finals. And so he lost the Continental title to Mox. In the meantime, nothing really happened after that for like 3 weeks. Okay. Like we had Wrestle Kingdom, which Okada and Takeshita were both at for very different reasons. And then Okada really hasn't been on TV. Takeshita has been, but just kind of like showing up and showing his face a little bit, ignoring Don. He's clearly not very happy with him. We knew that Kyle Fletcher was pissed, but this week, and while all of that is not going on, while there was a whole bunch of shit not happening, okay, the Don Callis family kind of started feuding with the Death Riders. But without Fletcher, Take, or Okada involved, it kind of felt blurry. Like, what's going to happen here? Like, the Death Rider should kill the rest of these guys. So it was hard to tell where things were going. But this week, Okada shows up and apologized to Kyle Fletcher and did his best I'm being sincere face. I do think it's a ruse. I do think it's an act. I do think it's manipulation because Kazuchika Okada is so good at this kind of shit. But he apologized. And then when Talk found out that Fletcher accepted the apology, shit started getting messy. Okay. And that's exciting to me. I want this to be messy. All right. Just please move this along, TK. We've been building toward this for a long ass time. Remember, like, Okada and Takeshita wrestled that triple threat with Masquerade Dorada back at All Out. That was in September. Okay. They've been teasing this for a long time. Let's get to it. God damn it. So, the homie Bo in Sicko's Club suggested maybe Take could win the Continental title from Mox and then win the international title from Okada, then be the unified champion. Interesting. Justin in the chat says, hello. Thank you for being here, friend. Blurry Line. Continental title is defended under Bonesaw rules. Yes. Yes, Kaylee Metz. I'm not surprised. Bandito can have all the belts, in her opinion. Kaylee is a unrepentant Bandito stan, and so am I. Okay. I mean, that's the truth. And Blurry Line did add to that. He already has one belt, but I still think it's bullshit and poor judgment that he doesn't have 3. Look, put the TBS title on Bandito and the men's world title. Okay. Just make it interesting. I think he's up to the task. No matter what belts they are, just give them all to Bandito. And I think that's sound logic. So we got messy bitches in the Don Callis family who are kind of, they're all scumbags. So their scummery is bleeding into each other now. And their scummery is coming into conflict. Okay. As we often see with terrible people. So, it looks like Takeshita's still looking like he's going to turn babyface. I think the question is, will Fletcher turn babyface or will Fletcher stick the knife in Take's back? And instead of looking like this apologetic guy, is that a bit of a swerve to get us to start thinking that way? And then he turns on Takeshita and cements himself even deeper as a heel. Blurry Line says, Jarrett hasn't defended that Leatherface title in a while is all I'm saying. Hasn't even been on TV. They have 6 singles men's titles. And Justin says, I want Bandito to get the national title and defend it in CMLL. That would be fun. And if they're not going to reunify the Continental title and the international title, like make the international title the one that gets defended everywhere else, that would make more sense, wouldn't it? Yeah. And then fuck yo mama 2 times says Bandito versus Ospreay is my dream match. Yes. Yes. Or Bandito and Kenny. Like, you got to get all the matches with Kenny that you can done this year, because God only knows what's going to happen. Okay. God only knows. Yeah. Jeff Jarrett hasn't defended that Chainsaw Massacre title in forever. I mean, what a fucking lazy bastard. All right. But you know who's not a lazy bastard? Not a bastard at all, actually. It's Thekla. Okay. Thekla this week on Dynamite wrestled Stat for the women's world title. It was a really, really, really good match. These two are going to make amazing rivals for each other over a long period of time. All right. Like, absolutely love their chemistry in ring. But it was impossible not to notice that the crowd in Austin was very pro Thekla. Okay. She's got so much presence, so much character. Her in-ring work is absolutely amazing. Okay. These two, they beat the living fuck out of each other. There were several times it looked like it could go either way. I was like, I don't feel like they're going to take the belt off Statlander on this, seemingly random episode of Dynamite, with this match not even being in the main event, which some people really didn't like, but I understand. It felt like the right call for Stat to win, and she did. Because her reign just doesn't feel complete yet. And this was a big notch in her belt. But Thekla gained a ton in defeat. It's very similar to Bandito with MJF a few weeks back. I think she's going to be a huge star. And like Bandito, it feels like everyone knows it. How do you guys in the chat feel? Do you feel like Thekla is a surefire star, or does she have more work to do? I'm interested to get other people's perspectives. Fuck you, mama 2 times said that the Jeff Jarrett, Jeff Hardy match was the worst match ever. Jay White versus Billy Gunn is a close second. That was a very bad match. Thank you, Justin. I think it's pretty sick. All Japan shirt. I'm glad you noticed. And Justin also suggests that Jeff Jarrett would be a good fit for DDT. Wow. Don't you put that evil about Kenny into this world, Kaylee? Well, look, I'm not trying to, okay? I'm just saying, get all the greatness out of Kenny that you can. We only got one Kenny and Danielson match, okay? And that was heartbreaking because they were so good. Fuck your mama 2 times says, who would have thought back in Donna Del Mondo days, Thekla would be in the main event scene? Yeah. It's crazy. It's crazy that Thekla can go blow for blow with these people like Willow, like Jamie Hayter, who are bigger than her, look harder hitting than her, but she looks like, one, they sell for her really well, but two, her shit looks legit. I mean, her shit just looks real, so it's very easy to see how people could buy into what Tekla's doing. And I just think her charisma, it just carries through. And I think Stat is amazing. And she's gotten so much better on the mic. I think there is this aura that she's still trying to find. And I don't say that disparagingly. I'm a huge fan of Statlander. But by comparison, I think Thekla jumps off the screen a little more. When you see them actually wrestle, Statlander is amazing. Statlander is fantastic. And I'm so happy that they've put the title on her, and I hope she stays champion for a while longer. But I do want to see them kind of solidify this cosmic killer thing that she's doing a little more. They're not going to turn her heel. They're not going to do anything desperate or crazy with her. They don't need to do any of those things. But I do think they could firm up, kind of what she's doing. I think Willow is another one of those personalities that just jumps off the screen at you. So I'd like to see a little more of that from Stat. And Justin says Thekla is a surefire star. Point 1, she's barely showed her full kit in AEW. That is very true. I saw just a bit of her stardom stuff, but point 2, she's really, really good, especially when she's attuned to the opponent she's against. Case in point, Stat. Right. She's the anti-Stat is essentially what Thekla is. She's vicious. She's cruel. She delights in other people's pain. She's the anti-Stat, and she knew it. Fuck Yo Mama 2 times says Julia is the one who was the star, not Thekla. In Stardom, very true. Very true. And yeah, I agree with you, Justin. If anything, Thekla just needs more US TV rounds, but moot point. She's getting the reps in. And Fuck Your Mama 2 times makes the point that Julia is floundering in the mid card in Fedland. And yes, she is. She is floundering because, you know, it's weird how things work and how time kind of plays out, because Julia is a fucking fantastic wrestler. Okay. But going to, you know, WWE really doesn't seem like it was the right move for her as far as elevating her star power. Now, I don't know. Maybe she's happy there. Maybe she's doing great there. Maybe she's living her best life there and she doesn't care. Like Shinsuke Nakamura apparently doesn't. Maybe she is, you know, content with where she's going. But for those of us who saw her in Stardom, we know what she can do. And she's never going to do it over there. I felt the same way when Nakamura came to WWE. I was like, is he going to be able to do that style, though? And the answer was no. The minute that John Cena didn't know how to take his backdrop, that was the end. When he dropped John Cena on his head, that was the end. Shinsuke had to work very differently from then on. Justin with the point that he blames Hatman, that being Rossi Ogawa, for Julia's trajectory. I agree. I think that was blind loyalty that really failed to pay off for Julia. And I would love, when her contract is up, man, Julia, come to AEW. They would want you. They would make you a good offer. Come on. We know what you can do. You know, there's only so many years in your career where you can work that kind of stiff fucking style. And so I would love to see her spend those years in a place that values that kind of wrestling, which Stardom certainly did, but AEW certainly does as well. All right, we're going to hit the music. When I come back, we got some cool shit to talk about. Thank you all for keeping the chat so live. I really do appreciate it. You guys are awesome. This is a lot of fun. I'm really loving doing these live streams. I want to do more of them that are more than just the podcast. So let me know what good days and times there are for you guys, because if there's one day a week that I could do an additional stream in addition to Sit Down, Shut Up, where it's just a stream and not for the podcast, I would definitely do it. And we could change the format. We could talk about other things. We could talk about, we can come up with a cool theme, whatever. So that's just something. Joe, Blairy Line, sorry. Good point. Julia's like 30. So she does have time. I'm just saying her style is going to put a lot of miles on her body. Maybe not in WWE, though. So maybe she can come back and do that. All right. We're back. And you know who else is back, folks? Kenneth Jerome Omega. The man that I have been feeling might be winding down. Seems to be back in Kenneth Jerome Omega form. Okay, one crazy wrinkle that went down shortly before I took my break was Kenny Omega declaring his intention for the AEW Men's World Championship. It was very cool, okay, but it also struck me as a bit odd because Kenny this last year hasn't felt quite as Omega-ish as he has in the past. It felt like he was a bit limited in the ring in ways I'm not used to seeing. I'm sure he's not used to. I mean, I understood it, of course. Go watch this man's New Japan career. Watch the matches he's had in AEW when he has been healthy. His peak has been so physical and insane, it had to greatly impact his body. Fuck you, Mama 2 times says, I call him Kenneth Jamiroquai Omega. Fair enough. So, if Kenny had been more limited in the ring, if he had been kind of winding down, I'm not going to criticize the guy. He's my GOAT. He's my all-time favorite, okay? Then he wrestled Josh Alexander last week on Dynamite and bumped like a fucking maniac. Took all kinds of crazy bumps. Hit most of his big Omega moves. He did the Terminator dive flawlessly, easily. He had to use his hands to get over the ropes a few months back in a tag match with the Bucks. Didn't need to do any of that. He looked every bit the Kenny Omega that we all know and love. Okay, this is the guy that we were hoping to see never expected to see again, but my God. My God. And then this week he fights Azúcar, Rocky Romero, in a much shorter but still very physical match. Kenny kind of, as Justin put it, murked Rocky Romero. He did. It's what you would expect, right? But that scene where that scene where Rocky's on his knees doing the little dance with his shoulders and shit, and Omega just fucking V-triggers him from behind was amazing. Amazing. But Kenny has declared himself for the AEW Men's World title. So is Swerve. So is Hangman. And Andrade's making a claim to it as well. So that's a fucking murderer's row of main event matches that you can have, okay? And after the match with Kenny, Tony Schiavone gets in the ring, okay? And he's saying, he explained in a way that was absolutely baffling. And Hangman tried to clean it up and couldn't really. He was just as baffling. But he explained that Swerve and Andrade were going to wrestle that night, the night of this past week's Dynamite. And the winner of that match would wrestle Kenny next week. And the winner of that match would wrestle Hangman in Australia. And the winner of that match would face MJF at Revolution. And as Kenny is, responding to this, Hangman's music hits. Hangman walks out. And I love that Hangman is walking out with all of this kind of like, oh, shucks. He loves Kenny, right? Like, they've made good with each other. They're on the right side of each other now. It's a lot of fun to watch. And he comes out with that kind of aw shucksiness. And he goes, Kenny, as much as I have respect for you, as much as I love you, you are not the next AEW Men's World Champion. And I love the face Kenny makes. Oh, really? Like Kenny's just like, what the fuck are you talking about, bud? Okay. Then fucking Swerve's music hits, right? And Swerve comes out. And this had occurred the previous week when the last time Kenny and Hangman and Swerve were all in the ring together. Swerve looked really annoyed at Kenny. And Swerve comes out and starts talking a little bit of shit. He sounded kind of pissed off. He's like, I came back and told you, like, I'm going after the world title. Like, it's funny because it's like, I told you I'm coming after it, so you should not even be thinking about challenging for this belt, right? And Kenny goes, Swerve, if I'm understanding you right, man, it kind of sounds like you don't just want the title. You want to fight. And Swerve got that shitty grin on his face. Like, he says, you don't even know. You don't even know. And that's definitely teasing a Kenny Omega Swerve match, which, holy fucking shit. Yes. Yes. We need to see that. So that's kind of how they left it, right? Like, Swerve is going to wrestle Andrade in the main event of this week's Dynamite. And whoever wins that match fights Kenny next week. So we get to the main event. When Swerve put on all this muscle, I was like, how the fuck is this guy going to do what he does? Right? And I'm still worried that he could be more susceptible to injury, right? Like, he could be susceptible to injury because a lot of guys like Pac or Davey Boy Smith back in the day, they put on all this muscle and then they start getting hurt all the time because there's a lot of muscle you can tear very easily, right? But I was also just worried, like, would he be as fluid in the ring? And the first couple times he wrestled, I thought he looked good, but I thought he looked like a guy coming back from injury. Didn't look quite as fluid. This match with Andrade was unfucking believable. Okay, this is where Andrade belongs. He just leveled up so massively in this one match because I've known this whole time in ring, he's perfectly capable. All right. Like, Andrade is as good as anybody in the ring when it comes, right down to it. Andrade is as good as anyone. But, is he going to be pushed at that main event level? Like, what are they going to do with Andrade now that he's back? And boy, did they show us. Okay, so he hit Swerve with every goddamn move he has. And Swerve kicked out of it all. But, Little ref distraction, little kicky to the nuts on Swerve. Swerve takes it in the nuts hard. Andrade hits the DM. Pins Swerve. Oh my God. Andrade just pinned a guy who was AEW Men's World Champion a year and a half ago. All right. Now, I want to see Swerve with that belt again. Okay. I want to see Hangman with that belt again. I want to see Kenny with that belt again. He needs at least one more run. If he's going to wrestle like this, he needs one more run. I don't even care if it's very long. He just needs it. Okay. You need Kenny being a 2-time champ, in my opinion. Okay. But Andrade, holy shit, now he's in the mix. So I try to always think about this shit somewhat logically, to the degree that I'm capable of logic, which is not very much. But if MJF's the champion, who can you see him facing at Revolution? Could you see him facing Andrade for real? I can't really. Like, not because Andrade's not good enough. It's just a heel versus heel match with a guy who just returned. I don't think Andrade is where he needs to be for that to happen. Could it be Hangman? Yeah, it could be Hangman. I mean, conceivably. However, MJF and Hangman have wrestled at several pay-per-views in the fairly recent past. You know, they just wrestled at World's End. So to me, what feels like the most likely thing in Los Angeles at Revolution is that Kenny Omega is going to wrestle MJF. And I hope he wins, for Christ's sake. I really do. I really, really, really would love another world title run for Kenny. I have a lot of really special people in my life who are going to that show. And for them to be able to see Kenny Omega win the world title live, I want that for them. All of you who are going to that show, God damn it, I want that for you, okay? And look, they're going to sell a fuck ton of tickets if Kenny is announced as the opponent for MJF. They will. It's just a fact. They will. But that would also mean that Kenny and Hangman are going to fight on Dynamite Grand Slam Australia. That's a rematch that we haven't seen since Hangman took the title off Kenny in 2021. I mean, we are going to eat good, kids. Okay? We are going to eat real damn good. It's wild. Okay? Blurry Line brought up a great point that I'm going to try to go back to here in the chat. Blurry Line is very quick with the retorts here. Impressively so. To be kind to Shivani, he was experiencing radiation poisoning from his own shoes, which I could agree with you. He had a neon yellow shoes and a neon yellow tie. Like, I don't know what was going on with Tony this week, but fuck, you know. Blurry Line also suggests that Kenny's name is Kennedy Joaquin Javier Omega. Don't think so. I think it's Kenneth Jerome. I'm going to stick with that. But yeah, I want to see all of these guys with the belt at some point in the nearish future. And there's other people. Bandito. I want them to belt up Bandito at some point in the near future. You know, there's these people on the periphery right now who could easily be world champion, who aren't even involved in the current kind of story going forward. I could see Okada being champion at some point. I could see Takeshita being champion at some point. So, and then you've got the elevation of Brody King, who it looks very likely he's going to challenge MJF for the world title in Australia. But he's facing MJF this next week in an eliminator match, essentially. And I think he's probably going to get a win over MJF, elevate Brody, and have him lose in the main event at Grand Slam Australia. That's a great use of him. I think that's a really good use of him. But Justin says, Andrade, not yet. I think Andrade at the main event picture right now is a litmus test for TK as to how people will react in the long run. I think he's found his groove again. I think you're right. You know, and there's lots of matches Andrade can have. Justin also says, I'm picturing Andrade versus Ospreay down the line because of United Empire involvement. But let's see. I agree. I think that's highly, highly possible. And fuck you mama 2 times says, let's not forget Will Ospreay. The minute that man is back, I mean, you level up the main event scene by 3. I mean, he's that good. He's that important to what AEW is doing. So yeah, we have this massive, massive main event scene boiling. TK is kind of showing you who the players are going to be for the next several months. I don't think that if you don't win the shot at Revolution, that means you don't get a shot. I think it could be another one of them at Dynasty. It could be another one of them, at Double or Nothing. So he's just kind of showing you who's going to be in the title picture for the next little while. I love that Bandito and Brody are also getting, hey, these guys belong at this level. And, has been kind of showing us that. That's where he sees them. So fantastic. The other option I could see is Kenny loses to Andrade somehow and fights Swerve at Revolution, which who's going to complain about that, right? So there's all kinds of ways you could do this. Then maybe Hangman beats Andrade in Australia. Who knows? One thing I do know is the first couple weeks of the year, AEW didn't feel quite as hot as it had been in 2025. It was nothing drastic. It just felt like there were very few stories that felt totally fleshed out. Things just felt a little blurry. Promotions go through times like that, right? In just a few weeks, all of that has changed. This past week's Dynamite was insanely good. I don't call anything a top 10 Dynamite anymore because I've forgotten all the fucking Dynamites I would call a top 10 Dynamite, and it's way more than 10. So at this point, I don't even know. What I do know is this week I couldn't look away. Okay, I was so fucking excited for that. Thank God for commercials so I could actually pee, unlike a pay-per-view where you're just kind of sitting there like, can I go? 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 So that's it. That's it for the podcast. Okay. That's it for me, Blade Daily. I appreciate y'all joining me live. I appreciate those of you who listen to this podcast. We will be back next week and back in our normal form. I will have a guest host. We will talk about all the comings and goings. There was so much to discuss this week, but again, like I said at the top of the show, we have to just share our own humanity with each other. We have to be on the side of humanity together. We are stronger than anyone trying to impose their will upon us because there's way more of us. And I think all of us, whether we agree with each other or not, deserve the opportunity to live our lives and think however it is we want to think, even if it's something that I find completely, that I'm diametrically opposed to. You deserve the right to think it and learn and live and live your entire natural life. Okay. So please tell your people you love them. Please just reach out to your neighbors. Let the people in your life know that they matter to you. Because fuck, man, this is a dark ass time, but we do have each other. At the very least, we have each other. So I'm Blade Daily. How do I do my outro? I forgot. So until next time, I'm Blade Daily. Pro wrestling forever. Woo! Thank you all for being here. That was fucking awesome. I loved having you here, and let's get to some of these chats here, shall we? Bleary Line says, yes, we're like one more pay-per-view cycle away from Ospreay being back, and he can't be ignored in that pack of world title chasers. Absolutely agree. Like, Will's not coming back and challenging for the TNT. Like, he's pretty much at that stage where it's like international is the lowest he could go. Fuck Yo Mama 2 times says, I was rewatching the match he had with Kevin Knight. Great match, and Kevin has only gotten better since then. Absolutely. Holy shit. And you've still got Jay White lurking in the shadows somewhere, whenever he's ready. Devil Dinosaur, welcome to the chat. Thank you for being here. Tony Montoya, bro, you showed up late. You showed up, you show up late. put your pants back on until next week. Tony, you guys might remember we've chatted about wrestling a little bit in the feed before, and we might again. Who knows? Who knows? We're kind of cousins, just whatever. Anyway, I really do appreciate you guys giving me a place to kind of vent about the world a little bit. What's going on right now? It's crazy. It is fucking crazy. And you see they're arresting Don Lemon and like several other people today for reporting shit on the same day that the Epstein files drop. And there's crazy shit in those files about Donald Trump. Holy fucking shit. Good God. Fuck yo mama 2 times with the very accurate observation that Jay White is the human form of a cat. I completely agree with that. If you need proof, go on the HeyEW. Go look at when the Bang Bang Gang was on HeyEW with RJ City. Jay White is in full-on cat form in that moment, and it's absolutely classic. It's my favorite episode of HeyEW. I feel it's a little underrated, a little unheralded for how good it was. But y'all, thank you very much. I got to go edit this thing now. But thanks so much for joining me. I want to do more. We're going to be doing more live streams that aren't just connected to our podcasts. So please, if you want to be a guest host with me on one of these, let me know, because it's absolutely possible. We want to grow our followers on YouTube. It's the biggest podcast platform aside from like Apple Podcasts and Spotify. So we will be doing more live streams. I'm very excited about it all. You guys have been great. Thank you. Take care.